Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Temple Emanu-El. We are so excited for Brody today and the Fearman family and to just be able to celebrate him as he becomes bar mitzvah. Already happy clapping, I love it. And so friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Under your seat, all you'll need for right now is this red prayer book. Hebrew goes right to left. If you don't have a red prayer book under your seat, check the one next to you. And it also might be underneath, like I see in this front row, you guys, it's underneath the heavy book. So Liam might need to get down there for you. And friends, if you open to any page, you'll see that we have Hebrew on one side, what looks like a bunch of mishmash, but English letters. That's the Hebrew and English letters. And then we have our translation. So you'll find that on every page. This is a highly participatory service, friends. That means you are invited to participate in all the ways that move you. So if you want to snap, you want to clap, la-las, responsive readings in the italics, all of these are great ways to help lift up our service, lift up our prayer, and most importantly, to lift up Brody. Because, friends, the more energy that you guys send up here towards Brody during the service, the more he has the chance to send it back to you as well. If you guys need to take a step out of the sanctuary, you can do so over here to my right, your left, my left, your right. There's also an exit behind you, and if we needed it, there's an exit behind us as well. There's also bathrooms on both sides. If you haven't already, take a second so that you can really be in the space, and you're welcome to take it out now so that you can put it away, which is your cell phone. So if your cell phone was left on, please take a second and turn it off. Apple Watches, anything that beep, we want to just get those silenced for our service, please. Otherwise, Rabbi Spike will answer your phone. Those joining online, take a second to say Shabbat Shalom in the chat feature. And for those of you who are here, unless I forgot anything, oh, choir mic, yes. If you have a reading in honor that you are coming up for, you would already know about it. And when you do so, we'd ask that you come up right here to this choir mic, and it will pick you up for that responsive reading. So now what I ask is that you guys turn to somebody that you did not drive here with, introduce yourself, and say a little Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Page 3, Shavit Achim Gam Yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim, Shavit Achim Gam Yachad. Hinei ma tov, Yalla la, yalla la 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 la. Hinei ma tov, Yalla la, yalla la 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 la. Hinei ma tov u'manayim, Shavit Achim Gam Yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim, Shavit Achim Gam Yachad. Friends, we'll turn to page 5 in our service, and I'd like to invite up Brody's dad, Todd, to present to him his talit, which was his great-grandfather, Frank Fearman's.
As this talit is draped around your shoulders, may the voices of the generations speak to you. May you know that there is a people, a rich heritage to which you belong, a sacred place from which you are connected to all who dwell on earth. As you are embraced in the folds of this talit, so too are you wrapped in the loving embrace of your family, community, and this holy congregation. May the simplest of garments always be for you a symbol of God's abiding and sheltering presence.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehitatev b'tzitzit.
Amen. And so as this talit is wrapped around Brody, we have a chance to mark this moment in time. Sometimes in Judaism, things are tough. Sometimes they're really, really good. This is one of those really awesome moments. And so we mark it with our blessing of Shechianu, page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Friends, our service continues on page 6.
God, be with me on this occasion of my bar mitzvah. Help me make meaningful the covenant you now establish with me. Sustain me with a sense of holiness. Inspire in me a desire to be special. I do not ask that you make my life easy, resolve my problems, map out the direction of my life. I ask only that you strengthen within me the desire and mold and shape my life in accordance to your will. In this hour of my bar mitzvah, I invoke your blessings upon my parents and friends and all who have loved and cared for me and have brought me to this time of gladness. Give them joy and fulfillment in their growth, in my growth, and in my achievement. You who turn the hearts of children to their parents and the hearts of parents to their children.
Amen, amen. And Brody, on page 7, we have Nisim B'chol Yom, our blessing for daily miracles. And for each of us, we have a chance every morning, whether it's to say these exact words or the prayers that really just kind of move us in the moment, that there's something special to bless every day, and to be mindful of that. Whether if it's got a good night's sleep after a late night of watching Avengers, whether it's the chance to be woken up by your sweet dog, whatever it might be, there's something to bless. And so tradition gives us particular items, things to be thankful for. A lot of times those are metaphors. Sometimes they're pretty literal, okay? And each of us every morning will pray them a little differently. So this morning, I want you to think about, not just you, Brody, everybody, think about which one stands out to you, which one is bringing you meaning this morning as Brody leads us in this prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'segvivina l'chavhin bein yom uvein laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach Ephraim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokach haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamahim et tzadik aver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein laya'ev koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir she'inai me'inai utnuma me'afa pai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tselem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bein korim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Friends, we continue in our service on page 13. This is that first responsive reading where we're going to join in with Brody in the italics. And this, Brody, it's a blessing of being a welcoming place, of being a synagogue with open doors. And without people, we're just a building. It's the people inside that really make it a sacred space. And we can't be that sacred space. We can't be holy. We can't be special without warm, welcoming faces like yours. And so your job, you might think that this is just a moment in time, but it's really a new start. It's the continuation of all the amazingness that you've already brought us just by being here and showing up with that smiling face, with that amazing kindness that you show. That is what this little blessing is all about creating more of that to be a welcoming space for everybody. So we'll pray responsively, page 13.
May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for fellowship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit indifference, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Our Baruch Hu call to worship, page 15, please rise. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Friends, on this same page, on page 15, we have our blessing, Yotzer Or, which Brody's going to lead us in just a few moments. But Brody, this prayer, Yotzer Or, it is a prayer about creation. It's about beginning. It's about being present. It's about being a co-creator with God. What's that mean? It means that yes, you do. It's about finding that little spark that I believe sits in each of us, that little godly spark, the things that make us holy, and bringing it out so that we can share it with others. So that, like God spoke the world into being, when you speak, your words have power. They mean things, okay? And the more you create, the more sacred our world is, the more special, that you become that co-creator with God building a more beautiful world. So page 15, let's pray together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei chosha. Osei shalom uvarei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha barachamim. Uvtuvo machadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chochma asita. Mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbara Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha. Va'al morei or she'asita yefarucha selah. Or chadash al tzion ta'ir b'nizkei hulanu mehira la'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer
HaMeorot. Beautiful, beautiful. Friends, we turn to page 16 for our prayer Ahava Rabbah. And Brody, this one, you notice the theme here. we've got co-creator, we've got God's abundant love. It's the different ways that we can use God, whether that's, some essence we can't touch in the sky, whether that's that little spark I was talking about earlier, that the abundant love, it can't be found if we're not looking for it, number one. And number two, we can't spread it if we don't spread kindness. And so to find God's abundant love, we have to put that love back out into the world. And so that's your job, Brody, is to continue to share all of that amazing love that you have in your heart and to share it with everybody around you. And so while we know you'll do that after today and always, today let's let you go ahead and lead us in this prayer, Ahava Rabbah.
Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gedola, Vitera, Chamota Aleinu. Ba'avur Avotenu V'imotenu, Shabbathu, V'chlamden, Hukei Chaim, Kain Techanenu, Uslamdenu. Hamra Hamra Hamalenu, Utain Belubenu, Ulhavin, Ulhaskil, Lishmoa, Lilmod, Ulalamed, Lishmor, Ulasot, Ulkayem, Et Kol, Divrei, Talmud, Toratecha Be'achava. Baruch Atah
Adonai, Habocher Be'amo Yisrael Be'ahava.
Amen. So we find our feet on the floor. Take a nice deep breath together. Hands over our eyes. Get ready for our Shema.
Page 18. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Rabbi Rachel, will you turn me down a little bit?
Yep.
Okay. So Brody, our next prayer on page 18 is the Via Hofta, which is really a continuation of the Shema. And there's so much history with this prayer, starting of course in Torah, but there's more recent history, meaning 2,000 years ago as opposed to 4,000 years ago history. So when our temple fell in 70 AD, when we say the temple fell, that's like saying the White House fell, right? It was the end of not just the temple, but the city and the Jewish country at that time. Judaism, or the folks who were in charge of the religion, had a decision to make. Are we going to be done because our central temple, where all the sacrifices and worship happen, or are we going to adapt? And clearly they chose the adapt part because we're still here. And so the rabbis who were in charge declared that the center of the religion was now going to be in the Jewish home. That the home was going to be the place where we were going to be our best, most authentic selves, okay? Where we're going to be God-focused or Jewish-focused in the home. And one of the things that they bring about is this idea that when we go into our home, we're supposed to bring our best selves. That seems like it's a clear thing, except for most of us don't really do that most of the time, right? We sort of have our outside the house face or hat or mask or whatever you want to say, and then the inside house one. And what we find, if we're not mindful that we're supposed to bring our very best selves into the home, is that we actually bring what I call like the spit sip of ourselves, like not our best part back into the home after a long day at school or after a baseball game that maybe goes your way, maybe doesn't, right? For all of us, we have this. The Mezuzah on your door has this Via Hofta prayer in it. It's at eye level to remind us that when we go in, we're supposed to bring the parts that we really are proud of, even if we're tired, even if things haven't gone well, because the people in the home are the ones that we love the most and love us back the most. You'll find our Via Hofta prayer on page 18.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך וחיו לטרטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
I'd like to invite up Aunt and Uncle Daniel and Sarah Fearman to lead us on page 19. So you'll come right to the choir mic right there. That way you can look at Brody as you're talking. Together, you
You are in the courage with which we overcame 40 years of desert wandering.
You are in the love that creates,
protects, forgives.
Standing at the sea, we felt your goodness and your love when we sang a new song to you, and still today we sing that song.
We praise you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. Page 20, Michamocha.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osei feleh, Nora tehilot osei feleh. Shir chadasha, shimechu geolim, l'shimcha asfat hayam, yachad kulam hodu, vehilichu ve'ameru, Adonai yimoch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimoch le'olam va'ed. Lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. Tzor Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Uftechnu Mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzemot Shemo, Kiddush Yisrael, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
So Brody, we're getting ready for the Amidah on page 21, our standing prayer. And this is the one where it's considered to be one of the more intimate chances for a conversation with the divine. But here's the thing, and this is what the prayer reminds us of. It's not like we're making a cold call to God, right? This is actually a super warm call. In other words, we're saying, hey, just a reminder to ourselves, at least, that this conversation that we're having is because there's already a relationship with your mom and dad, with your grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great. You've been in this relationship even before you were born. And so with that in mind, we begin on page 21 with our Amidah.
Adonai Sifatei
Ufia ki tehilatecha, Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol, Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. If we could please have our cousins, Amy Shallard and Karen Bohack and Stephen Harris, come to our choir mic to lead us in the responsive prayer on page 23.
There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know. There is holiness when we strive for harmony in all of our relationships. There is holiness when people seek justice and struggle for righteousness. There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us.
Page 24, our Kiddusha. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו, מדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אנו אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כאן לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כאן לך, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש Kadosh le'olam va'ed. Here comes your part. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador nagim gal lecha. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador nagim gal lecha. Ki hamelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Ki hamelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated as Brody leads us on page 25 in our responsive prayer.
From of old, the Jewish people have seen Shabbat as a unique gift, a token of its covenant with God.
Shabbat is the most cherished creation of the Jewish spirit. It mirrors the essence of the Jewish soul.
Shabbat has never been merely a day of rest from labor. It has always been a break in the routine of everyday life.
Shabbat is a symbol of liberation and triumph, of the holy over the profane, of spirit over matter.
In every age, Shabbat afforded the Jew a sacred retreat, a haven of safety, a mountain of new strength and perpetual renewal.
Shabbat nurtures family life in love and harmony. A home at peace welcomes Shabbat with joy.
Shabbat is part of nature's design, the very purpose of creation. All that was created attained its fulfillment in Shabbat.
Shabbat is our hope, the calm haven where all the weary find rest.
With the coming of Shabbat,
Redemption and peace enter our world. Page 26, our prayer for Shabbat, Yismechu. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat. Mekadashei Shavi Shabbat. Kulam Yisbehu v'yitamdu miturecha Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat. Ubashvihi ratzita bo kiddushto Shabbat. Chendat yamim oto kareta Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onek Shabbat.
Where's the Ginsburg family? All right. I got a whole family listed, but two of you are coming up. All right, super. The Ginsburg family, you guys are going to lead us on page 27 with our responsive prayer. Together, but
Miracles are all around us and within us. We are each walking miracles. When we see suffering, what miracle saddens us? When we give and receive love, what miracle warms us? When we pray, what miracle renews us?
For all these miracles, may your name be exalted and blessed forever and ever. And then on page 28, we're going to have Kara Eisenberg and Pamela Lislerman to come on up.
Our God, we know there is no greater gift than peace. Help us to find the peace that comes from the love of your Torah.
Inspire us to banish hatred, war,
bloodshed, and
bigotry. Help us to establish forever one human family, doing your will in love and peace.
Help us to find peace in ourselves and among all people. O God of peace, bless us with peace.
You
You have given us the power, O God, to bring peace and justice into the world. May we all love peace and pursue it, and love our fellow creatures. Fill us with kindness, wisdom, and love. Then shall we learn to live in peace. Blessed is God, teacher of peace.
Page 28, Sim Shalom.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Chema chesed, chema chesed v'rachamim. Chema chesed v'rachamim, v'rachamim. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha.
I invite everyone to take a moment or two of silent reflection, meditation, communion, prayer, and in that silence, just pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're feeling. Strange is our situation here on earth. Each of us has come for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we're here for the sake of humanity, for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we're connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day, I realize how my own outer and inner life is built on the labors of my fellow human beings, both living and dead, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received and am still receiving.
Oh, say shalom bimrama. Oh, say shalom aleinu. They all call Israel. Ve'imru, amen. Yah say shalom. Shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol
invite up your parents, Ellie and Todd, to come on up to the bima and to offer you what we call the parent blessing. Todd and Ellie, this blessing is a mashup from the Talmud. It comes from different places, for the most part, from the Talmud, and these great sages, these superb spiritual beings, were also parents. And so what is beautiful is through the centuries and the millennia, that these words from these stars, who are also dads and mom, come through. And we hope that today that you can offer these words that they said to your son on the occasion of his bar mitzvah. So for a big step forward, I want him close with him.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be.
Come forward, yeah.
May your heart be filled with intuition and your words be filled with insight. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue and your vision be on a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom and your fulfillment be in righteousness.
A Jewish home opens its heart, and its link to the generations is proclaimed. Today, our child, nearly grown, is called to read from the Torah and is welcomed into the congregation. May this moment be blessed.
Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. All right, and parents, stay up here with us. Everyone, we're going to rise for our Taurus service on page 32. We're going to invite up Rob Smuckler and Larry Sullivan for the Ark opening. We're also going to invite up Charles Krause, Sandy and Barry Harris, Naomi and Harold Smuckler to undress the Torah. So you're going to be on the side with Rabbi Rachel over there. We're going to invite grandparents to come on up. Susie Smuckler, Ruth Fearman, and Ed Potlitzer, Joe Angela and Marty Fearman, come on up. And of course, in spirit, we have grandfather Gary Smuckler. So come on up, everybody.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai ve'ein k'ma'asecha malchutecha malchut kol amim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'ador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimlach le'olam vahed Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom Av harachamim heitiv avirtzoncha et Zion Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki v'cha levad batachnu Melech el ram v'nisa Adon olamim Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Unevar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
Hey, Brody. I want us to take this in for a moment, like really what's going on here. You are surrounded, just look around, you are surrounded by all these people who love you so much. As his eyes meet yours, give him a wave. Give him a wave. You got your Galway friends over here. Give him a wave. You're surrounded by family, by community, by tradition, by Torah on all sides. Torah, Ner Tamid, symbols all around of the sacred stories which set you up for success and a life of meaning. You have represented in this moment thousands of years of Jewish history, which in some ways we could see have happened just so we can do what we're about to do right now. It's crazy. And you're at the center of it, at least for this moment. Brody, you and the Torah have some things in common. And that is that you are both sacred, and that you are both here because of the decisions of the generations who've come before you. You look behind you, you see your parents who love you so much. And behind parents, you're going to see grandparents. Okay? And behind grandparents, if you squint, you're going to see missing grandfather. Okay? And great-grandparents. You know what I mean by that? Now keep looking, because you're going to see behind great-grandparents, great-great-great, and great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great. We believe that they're here, these Jewish generations, wrapping themselves again and again and again in the sanctuary. We believe that they're here, and they're smiling because of what we're doing and who you are. It's intense, and it's awesome. So now, symbolically, we're going to pass the Torah down through the generations. You can give it a little hug, everybody. Now I'm going to pass Torah to Mom, and I'm going to take it back from you, okay? Now I'm going to pass Torah to Dad. You got it? Okay, now, Brody, I want you to face Dad so he doesn't hurt his back, okay? And now, when you're ready, Todd, put Torah on his shoulder. Make sure he has it before you let go. You got it? Okay, now we turn this way, Todd, hand on his shoulder.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai Hagedula, Hagevura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzach, V'hahod. Ki ho b'shamayim uvaret, ki ho b'shamayim uvaret. Lecha Adonai, take it off. V'mitnaseh l'chol erosh, romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lehar kodsho.
Okay, please be seated.
Unless
Folks
you
who are
have
up
an
here,
aliyah.
you can make your way back to your seats. Come on down, yep. Okay, so as folks are making their way back to the seats, a show of hands. Raise your hand if this is your first ever bar or bat mitzvah.
No, it's not.
Great, wonderful. Welcome. Glad this is your first one and that it's here. Okay? Raise your hand if you think that you've been to 10 or fewer bar or bat mitzvahs. Okay? 100 or fewer bar or bat mitzvahs. More than 100. Okay, yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. Whether this is your first bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, or you've been to 100 or more, what Brody is about to do is hard. He is going to be chanting in the original without cantillation marks or vowels in a language that is not his native language. Okay? He has been working to get to this point not for months, for years. For years. So I don't want anybody to forget that this is a very, very big deal. He's going to be chanting from Parsha Bechukotai, which is from Leviticus. If you reach under your seat, you'll find a blue book that says the Torah. And if you take it out,
If it says Mishkan Tefillah, it's the other blue book.
yeah, not Mishkan Tefillah, the Torah. Yep, that's the right one. It says the Torah. And if you turn to page 957, you will be able to follow along with the translation, and you can see what he's chanting. On page 957, turn to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 3 is where we're going to start. So again, page 957, Leviticus 26, 3. And this will give you a good idea of what he's doing, and also it'll make it very, very relevant. So part of what Brody does in his training for today is not just lead us in prayer, which he's done beautifully, Dianu, as if that's not enough. He also is going to be, like we said, chanting from Torah, and then afterwards giving a mini sermon. So having wrestled with the words and the concepts, taking that and putting it through the filter of who he is as a person, and then reflecting it back to us as a society. Big words, big, big words. Okay, Rabbi Rachel, over to you.
Yes, so for the honor of our first Aliyah, proud grandparents Susie Smuckler, Ruth Fearman, and Ed Potlitzer, Joangela, and Marty Fearman. Ya'am Du, Meir ben Ephraim, Yehuda ben Yaakov, Shoshana, Moshe, La'aliyah.
Come on up, everybody. Yeah, you're great. You're totally good. Gentleman with seat, will you come right over here, please? I want you to come on over here. I want you to touch and kiss. Right over there. Touch and kiss. Okay. And folks, we're going to go, when you're ready, Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim. V'nosan lanu es Toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. Okay, I want to take your hand and put it right here, please.
Amen. Im behukotai, tilahu ve'et mitzvotai, tishmeru, v'asitem otan, v'natati gishmechem be'itam, v'natana ha'aretz, yevulav etz hasadeh yitan piryo, v'hisig lachem daish et batzir, uvatzir, yasik et zara, V'ahaltem lachmechem lasova, v'shavtem laveta be'artzechem.
Do our blessing after. What page is our blessing after, Rabbi Rachel?
Blessings are on page 34.
Right now? Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emes. Chaye olam notah b'sofenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. And as that's happening, for our second Aliyah, we call forward proud brother Drew Fearman. Ya'amad Abraham Ephraim ben Tuvia ve'elishava la'aliyah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
V'natati shalom ba'aretz, ushavtem ve'ein, maharid v'hishbati, hayara'a min ha'aretz, be'herav l'ta'avor ba'artechem, ordavtem et oevechem, v'naflu lifnechem l'harav, radefu mikem hamisha, me'a ume'a mikem ravava, yirdofu. V'naflu oevechem lifnechem l'harav.
All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betoheinu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Okay. And you guys can make your way down, or if it's easier, if you want the railing, you can go that way. Yeah. So we're going to send them that way. Yes. For our third aliyah, we call proud mom, proud dad, Ellie Fearman and Todd Fearman. Ya'amdu Eli Shava Bat Shoshana Tuvia Ben Meir La'aliyah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Ufaniti alechem, v'hifreiti etchem, v'hirbeiti etchem, v'hakimoti etbereiti itechem, v'achaltem yashan noshan, v'yashan, mipnei hadash totziu, v'natati mishkani petochechem, v'lo tigal nafshi etchem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
You can go sit. You can go sit. Here, go this way. All right, Brody, this is your moment to go have a seat. Okay, bye. Just kidding. And so, Brody, the reason we have you to sit, it's a little anticlimactic if you're already up here when we call you up for your aliyah, because that's what's about to happen. Is an aliyah the Torah is literally to be called up to the Torah. And we've been building towards this moment in the service this whole time, and now it is my honor to get to call you formally to the Torah as bar mitzvah. Ya'amod Baruch ben Tvia v'Elishama la'aliyah.
Baruch hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natam lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. V'hitlachti b'tochechem, v'chayiti lachem l'Elohim, v'atem tihu li le'am. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, mi'ut lachem avadim, Vashbor motot ulechem v'olech atem komemiut. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'toheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. All right, Yasher Koach. And let's move that just a little bit. Perfect. With the sacred Torah still in our midst, Brody, I want you to stand here, Mom and Dad on each side, because it is with Torah in our midst that we have the chance to offer a special Mishaberach. Sometimes Mishaberach is for travel or for healing. This time, spiritual growth. Okay, and so friends, we are on page 35. I'll ask that you please rise.
Please rise.
Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et Baruch ben Tuvia ve'Elisheva Shehigia l'mitzvot v'ala laTorah HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmerehu v'chayehu v'chonen et libo l'hiyot shalem im Adonai Elohav lahagot b'torato lalechet bidrachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'yimtzachein v'sechel tov be'enei Elohim v'Adam v'nomar Amen. Brody, that means, may God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, because you have come for an aliyah upon the age of mitzvot, today, on your birthday. May the Holy One guard you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying God's Torah, walking in God's ways, and fulfilling God's mitzvot. May you find favor before God and all people. And together we say, Amen.
We remain standing as we get ready to dress, and then the dressing of the Torah, we're going to call up great aunt, uncles, and cousin Dorothy Carrillo, Tom Dell, Bobby Fearman, and Ben Bauman to dress the Torah. I'm just going to scoot over this way. Okay, ready?
Yes, 36. Vezot HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe yai lai yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai yai lai la lai lai la lai lai yai lai lai ya la lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai la lai lai yai lai lai. Please be seated. And Brody, come on over.
Parents can be seated too.
You guys can head back down. And I'll wait a second to make sure it picks you up, and then I'll go sit. Okay. So Brody has led us so beautifully this morning in our services. He has chanted Torah for us from its original, and now he will share with us his words of Torah, his Devar Torah, the things that he has learned in his time studying and preparing for this day.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is Behukotai from the book of Leviticus. My portion is about the blessings and curses that God has bestowed upon us. God says he will give us rain to grow all kinds of food and provide us with peace if we follow his rules and commandments. God says that if we break his rules, he will give the Israelites curses. He will take away our food and give it to our enemies. God says he will destroy our cities if we don't obey him. My Torah portion then takes a big turn and transitions into God giving Moses a list of how much people and animals are worth to the sanctuary. Finally, my Torah portion ends with God saying that animal sacrifices have to be healthy and given to a priest to check if the animal is pure or not, meaning good or bad. If these rules are disobeyed, the person with the animal would be punished. One thing that stuck out to me in my Torah portion was the idea that when we do the right things, this meant we would get blessings. And when we do the wrong things, this meant we would receive curses. In biblical times, many Israelites were afraid that they would be punished if they didn't follow God's laws. But in modern times, there are many different types of ways to be Jewish. Some Jews nowadays never pray and never celebrate the holidays, but they don't receive curses. I think God doesn't care as much about if you are a good Jew, but rather a good person. We shouldn't be so stressed feeling like we have to do certain Jewish things every day. We should still practice Judaism as much as we can, and we do this by praying, celebrating holidays, and making contributions to the greater Jewish community. We make contributions to the greater Jewish community when we volunteer, donate food and money, and support people in their time of need. Like I said before, I think God cares way more that we are good people in general than rather than good Jews. By doing what God wants us to do, we bring blessing to the world and receive blessing from our mitzvot, our actions and the actions of others. Becoming a bar mitzvah means that I am now an adult in the Jewish community. To me, this means that I need to uphold my responsibilities as a Jewish young adult by donating food and tzedakah to the community, working with younger kids in the religious school and helping the younger generation prepare for their B'nai Mitzvah. In addition, my family has been Jewish for a very long time, and I have fulfilled my wish to live on their legacies by reading from the Torah and becoming a bar mitzvah. Also, this massive accomplishment gives me the confidence to go out in the world as a Jew. After my bar mitzvah, I plan on working here at Temple Emanu-El as a madrich. I will also continue to celebrate the holidays at the synagogue with my family because I get quiet time to talk one-on-one with God. I also want to hang a Mezuzah on my door to indicate that I am actively Jewish, and I want to follow my ancestors' traditions by raising Jewish children. As a Jew, I believe that visiting the sick and giving tzedakah are very big mitzvot. When we visit people who are sick, it makes them feel so much better just knowing that someone has recognized that they are struggling. And for tzedakah, I don't always know exactly where the money is going, but I know when I spare a little extra money for someone else, it can always lift their spirits and really help them. As a Jew, I plan on taking a trip to Israel at least once in my life. I haven't been yet, but I know that Israel and Jerusalem specifically are very important to Judaism. This is the Holy Land where Judaism really started. Jerusalem is home to the Western Wall, which is the wall from the old Jewish temple. This wall is very sacred, and people sometimes put a prayer on a piece of paper, and one day I hope to have my prayer in the Western Wall. For my bar mitzvah project, I am volunteering at Fur Kids Rescue Center for Dogs. At Fur Kids, I get to walk, bathe, and play with the dogs, but some of the dogs are traumatized, and volunteers and staff help them so they can get used to humans, so they can get adopted by a loving family. The reason why I chose this as my bar mitzvah project is because for my entire life, I've loved animals, but I love dogs the most. I wanted to somehow incorporate this into my bar mitzvah preparations. I have learned that in my Torah portion, many rabbis believe that you can receive blessing as a good person, even if you don't pray or read Torah every day. Instead, I took action, and I think this means when we lead a good life, good things come to us. In the time leading up to my bar mitzvah, I have been supported by my friends and family. Thank you, Rabbi Rachel, Rabbi Max, and Rabbi Spike, Miss Joanne for helping me learn Hebrew and read from the Torah. Thank you to my grandparents who've always been there to love and support me. Nana, I loved how every Friday my brother and I would go to your house and spend time with you. And I loved our experience watching the Avengers together. Pops, although I'll never understand why you're an Alabama fan, I love our sports conversations and the games we used to play when I was little. Papa and Jojo, we don't see each other much, but I still love the time that we do. I will always remember playing with your dog Gracie and going on fun adventures. Grandma, I love whenever I get bored of your apartment, you always convince me to play geography or categories. I also love when we cook together for Thanksgiving. And Drew, no matter how much we fight, I know that we'll have an unbreakable bond. We are brothers forever. I love you and thank you for all the support. Mom, thank you for always having my back and teaching me to cook. I love our hikes and adventures. I love that no matter how much upset I am, you always know how to cheer me up. Thank you for teaching me to be a good human and taking care of me when I'm sick. I love you so much. Dad, I love watching the Gators and having movie nights with you. We always find something fun to do, whether it's playing video games or taking Kibo to dog parks. I love all the tough love that you've given me in sports, even though I don't always show it. Thank you for always coming to my games. I love you. I also want to thank everyone for listening to my Torah service and being a part of this community. Thank you all. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So clearly, we just heard from a young man, okay? And thank you, Brody, for leading us like this. We're going to call up Lisa Fearman and Liz Gooch to open the Ark. I'm going to have everybody rise, turn to page 39. Okay, Brody with me, please. Okay, ladies.
Eitz Chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tom chaha me'ushar d'racheha darchei olam v'chol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadish, Chadish Yameinu Chadish Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated. All right, so Brody, we're going to hang out here. I'm going to just place you like this. There you go. Wonderful. So, Brody, Rabbi Rachel and I have said it before, but it really is worth repeating. Of all the things we get to do as rabbis here at Temple Emanu-El, including Yom Kippur services and Ruckus Friday night services and weddings, what your rabbis are able to do with you is our most favorite thing, and that is to get to know you at a deep level and to study what's called Torah Lishma, Torah for the sake of higher thought, higher thinking. I remember when your mom and dad brought you and your brother into my study however many years ago, and we sat there many years ago, and I found out about your family and your family's history and commitment to Judaism and synagogue and what was important to you guys. You and your brother talked incessantly about Star Wars, if I remember correctly. You know, and to have watched you grow over the last couple years, and not just physically, right? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to see how your charisma with your friends work, to see how you work with younger kids when you're interacting with them, to see this gentle energy, which can get very intense, but usually at the right times, is great. Now, this particular last year, outside of the synagogue, I've had the chance to spend time with your mom and dad as we sat there and watched your baseball games. And I want to use a little bit of a baseball metaphor to talk a little bit about your tour portion and your place in it. So this year, your Galloway team, you guys did really well. And your coaches did a really good job of making sure that you are all being very supportive of one another. And that was that intense chatter coming off the bench, which really got you guys through some tough parts. Your tour portion's about sort of doing the right thing, right? When you do the right thing, you're supposed to get blessings, and then we have this, this theology, this, study of God, that when we don't do the right thing, that bad things come to us. And that may seem a little bit simplistic or childish, right? Childish. But if you think about it, the way that you choose to interact with other people and that they choose to interact with you and your surroundings actually creates a culture. It creates a society. So in your Torah portion, it talks about that if you're honest in your business, and if you're there for your neighbor, and if you are guarding your neighbor's back when she or he needs it, right? And the list goes on, then you will be blessed. And if you do the opposite, right, you're dishonest in business, you develop mistrust with neighbors and they with you, that nobody can trust each other in a world or a society, then the society starts to fall apart, which in times of goodness and peace may not seem like that big a deal, but goodness and peace don't usually last very long. You know, barbarians at the gate, right? Plague, natural disaster, what have you. So maybe what your Torah portion is talking about is not so much, God is punishing or rewarding depending on your behavior, as opposed to you are able to create your environment, and what you put out there in the world is going to come back to you. Bad things do happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people, right? But the idea is that we can control some things around us. You do this very, very well. Something I've watched you do over this last year during the baseball season, with the help of your parents and your coaches and your teammates, is learn something invaluable which has been ingrained into the Jewish people, which is perseverance, right? What do you do when things don't go your way? How do you get up when it doesn't go the way that you want it to go? And we're allowed to, and we're supposed to have those emotions that come with it. And at some point, dust ourselves off and get back into that battery box, right? So you have blossomed into a wonderful young man. You are loved here at Temple Emanu-El. We know you. We love you. We want to see lots more of you. You talked about going to Israel. We're going to bring you to Israel with your confirmation trip, right? Underwritten by Ed Schiffer here. So you're going to go with us. You don't have to wait till someday in the future. And my hope and blessing to you, Brody, is that you take these lessons that you're learning, you take this momentum that you have, you take this idea of putting things into the world, of being a good person, and you keep going with it, and you really bear down on it, and you bring back to us the blessings that you rise up.
Hey. So I wanted to share just some things that I really have appreciated about you, this last year especially. Thank you for bringing him so frequently, that you showed up this year. Not that you didn't in years past, I'm just saying, like, this year with you, it was so nice to have you, to be in class, and not just to sit there, but to engage with the material, to wonder, to question, to lean into, what is this thing, Israel, that's supposed to be my homeland? What is the Holocaust and how does it impact my life? Those are like some big things that we try to tackle in the 6th grade. And that was just the beginning. All of this is the platform from which you continue to jump higher and higher in your Jewish education, in the ways in which you form bonds with your peers here at Emanu-El, the way in which you improve and build and continue to brighten the relationships you have in your family. All of those things, they started from somewhere and they continue to grow. And Brody, what I appreciate about your willingness to engage is, you got it, is that you, one step forward, buddy. There you go. I know you like Israel, but you don't have to be that close. Is that I feel like you found a new part of who you are, that you were kind of quiet at the beginning of the year. And by my last meeting, I couldn't get him to stop talking about everything that wasn't what we needed to be talking about. But you know what? I appreciate that too. I appreciate that you know how to talk with adults. I appreciate that you bring your big smile all the time, that you really mean it, that you're authentic in who you are, and that you're comfortable with that. You know, you're a teenage kid, so like you're not going to be so comfortable in yourself all the time. But keep surrounding yourself with people who empower you to be who you are and to be the best Brody that I know. Because the Brody that I know is really, really sweet. The Brody that I know walks around and holds Liam's hand through the Purim Carnival. Not a lot of 6th grade boys out there trying to like rush to go do that kind of stuff. And I love that you make those choices. So keep surrounding yourself with people who empower you to make those choices. Be the role model that you already are in showing kindness and respect for your friends and your peers. And you, my friend, will continue to be a blessing for us here.
So now, Rabbi Rachel and I get to offer you the priestly benediction, which our rabbis have been offering to youth at liminal points in time since time as we know it began. Would everybody please rise? We're going to take a step forward so we can put a hand on your shoulder.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai pnav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yis Adonai pnav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God bless you, Brody, with the greatest gift of all, which you have right now. Your feet on the ground, underneath the Ner Tamid, surrounded by tradition and history and striving and morals, family and friends, your whole life ahead of you, every opportunity, a sense of wholeness, completeness, and peace. And we say,
Amen.
please be seated unless you are Brody's parents, and then come on up. Nice and close, guys. Put your ears to the microphone. Yep.
Brody Cole Fearman, my man. I am so proud of you, Brody. Over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to take these people on a journey of your entire life. No, I'm just kidding. Brody, I'm sure that you know that when your mother was pregnant with you for only a few weeks, we were told something very different about what you were going to be. We had prepared for it, if only for a few weeks, for something different. And I was so happy when the doctor told us that you were going to be a boy. From the moment you were born, you haven't stopped making noise. From the early days of your adorable nonstop crying to less than a few months later, you were full on laughing and jumping around in your bed. And then when you moved on to words and talking, it was all over. You are always singing or laughing or talking or cheering loudly for your teams. You have obviously heard the stories about how animated and happy you have always been. And even now, you still show that amazing smile and happiness in everything you do. At an early age, your mother and I knew you had a drive inside of you. Your passion and determination will guide you wherever you want to go. Having a great family, supportive friends, and whatever walk of life you choose, we both know that you won't stop until you get where you want to be. I am so proud of your volunteering at Fur Kids. You care for every dog in that shelter, always looking after them, taking them for walks, bathing them, and just making them feel loved while you are there. I can see this in your passion, and I hope it takes you on a life's journey. It fills my heart when I'm there with you, watching you love every minute of it. Brody, you are loud. Yes, you are. So please remember to use your voice. In sports, you're an amazing teammate, and we saw that at such an early age with you in sports. You're always picking your team up when they need it, celebrating in their success, but more importantly, lifting them up when they fail. In your education, use your voice to ask important, insightful questions. You are always looking to learn more about what interests you, but always remember to ask why. In your life, use your voice with your friends and your family. Inspire them, support them, love them as they have love for you. For people in need, use your voice for those who cannot speak up and whose voice that cannot be heard. Brody, take a minute to look out at all the people that are here for you. Take a moment to thank them for being here for such an important moment in your life. but also remember the people in your life that could not be here. Your great-grandparents, Frank and Francis, Claire, Lillian, Ralph, Gerald, and Edith. And we also want to remember your grandfather, Gary, for whom this service is dedicated to. The moment he learned about your mom being pregnant with you, he fought with everything he had to make sure he got to meet you and had a great relationship with you. Actually, when he held you, he was probably the only person that could ever keep you quiet. Gary, you were an influence on all of us, and both of these boys have your spirit living within them. Drew Fearman. Drew mostly stayed out of the way during Brody's training, and for that we all say thank you. No, Drew, you were an amazing big brother to Brody. I have loved every minute of watching you both grow into men. Just remember to always be there for each other, to love and support each other, laugh during the good times, and lift each other up when you are down. I love you both very much. Ellie, once again, I do all the hard work, and you get all the credit. Quite simply, this bar mitzvah would not be the amazing, joyous, organized event without you. You did such an incredible job with all of this, and I thank you. I hope you appreciated that whenever you asked me a question, I merely nodded my head up and down as my contribution. You can now relax until you have Drew's rehearsal dinner to plan sometime around the year 2032. Brody, you are the second generation of Fearmans to be born in Atlanta and the fourth generation to call it home. You have embraced the importance of being in the Jewish community with your love and your involvement with Camp Barney Meddens. And I have to tell you, being a Fearman in this town, I was asked a lot of questions growing up that sounded like, are you Frank's grandson? Whose kid are you, Bobby or Marty? I went to high school with your Aunt Dorothy. Is Ruthie your mom? I was friends with your Aunt Lori. Are you Lisa's little brother? Or I went to high school with your cousin Emily. And Brody, as you begin to stretch your wings in this city and become more involved with groups like BBYO, this will happen to you too. So be proud of your family, be proud of where we came from and the impact that those people have had on the Jewish community. I have always felt some pride when someone said they knew my family. But I'll tell you a little secret. About a month or so ago, I was at one of your baseball games, and after the game, I was talking to a teammate of yours, and they were talking about how well you played, and I introduced myself, and they said, we know. We just know you as Brody Fearman's dad. And I'll tell you that's the best one to be known for. That's good enough for me. We love you so much, and we're all so proud of you and can't wait to see what's next.
Please rise, everybody, on page 40 for Elenu family. Will you come on up and open the ark?
Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol l'ateit gidula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kulei haratzot v'lasamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo samcha kenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu kor'im umishtachavim umodim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Ushemo echad.
Andrew, we're going to close the ark. Thank you. Family to the Bema. Everyone can be seated. We're at the final lap of our service. The Jewish tradition is to say Mourner's Kaddish towards the end of the service, and in doing so, to raise up the names of the folks who were a big part of our life and who loved us very much and loved us back. And in doing so, it's not a downer, it's actually an upper. It's a way of highlighting how important all of this is, and by adding their name, we call in their presence, and it makes all of this time that much more kadosh, holy. So your family, in particular today, at this joyous time, the occasion of bar mitzvah, an actual 13th birthday, recalls the name of Gary Smuckler, Lillian and Ralph Smuckler, Edith and Gerald Krause, Claire and Theodore Rappaport, Francis and Frank Fearman. For those who are in the sanctuary or joining us online, if you are in the first 30 days of a loved one's passing, the Shloshim period, we ask you to rise now and be recognized. Thank you. Please remain standing. If you're in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, we ask you to rise now and be recognized. Please remain standing. If you are commemorating the yahrzeit, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing this Shabbat, this weekend, we ask you to rise now and be recognized. And if it is your custom to rise either in solidarity or for the 6 million who have no one to say Kaddish for them, please do so now. Mortar's Kaddish can be found on page 41. We take a moment to think about the people who we're saying Kaddish for. Picture them in your mind. See them at their best, healthy and hale and strong. And now picture their head turning towards you, your eyes meeting theirs, and together you both begin to smile. Yikdal v'yikdash shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yeroteh ve'amlich machuteh v'chayechon yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael b'galav yisman kariv v'imru.
Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Ameh Amaya Yitbarach.
V'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala Shmei dekudsha
Barichu.
La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush berchata v'nechamata damiram be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Osei shalom v'imru mav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen. Oh, say shalom, bimromav, huya, say shalom, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. Oh, say shalom, bimromav, huya, say shalom, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
Amen, family, will you head over towards this side where the Kiddush Cups are? And we are going to have you pick up a Kiddush Cup. Okay.
Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asat et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit. Let's do it again. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asat et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari
Brothers, Hala. We'll hold it together, and doing so representing all the good that we can do, keeping all of this in mind, this spiritual cornerstone from today, which, Brody, you can push off from, but always find your way back to together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov. Yeheilanu, 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 u'v'chol Yisrael. Yeheilanu, Yeheilanu, u'v'chol Yisrael. Yeheilanu, Yeheilanu, u'v'chol Yisrael. Yeheilanu, Yeheilanu, u'v'chol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Mazel tov.
Shabbat shalom.